The Marlins now have won 4 consecutive series as they take 2 out of 3 from the Twins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for 4 seasons. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every single day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts about the Marlins in the comments section. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, we're going to talk about this Marlins and Twins series, recap the last couple of games, talk about Eury Perez because he is all the way back. He made his best start of the season coming off of Tommy John surgery. Agustin Ramirez, or as you see if you're watching on the YouTube channel, Augustine Bonds, because that man has power, which is just ridiculous at this point. Agustin Ramirez is a clear building block, and all Marlins fans should be excited for him and want an extension for Agustin Ramirez. And then an exciting topic. The wild card is what? Where do we fill in the blank here? Because right now the Marlins are 39-46, and with the expanded playoffs, 6 teams from each league make it. You never know. You got to play good baseball, and that's what the Marlins have been doing right now. So Edward Cabrera got the start the first game. He was brilliant. You heard about that on yesterday's podcast. And then these last 2 games, very close. The Marlins were very close to a series sweep. Yesterday's game on Wednesday, you have the tying run in scoring position in the 6th inning. Jesus Sanchez had doubled. It's a 2-1 ball game. Kyle Stowers at the plate. He rips a base hit. It goes into the outfield, but it hit the umpire. And by rule, Jesus Sanchez can only advance 1 base. So the Marlins fail to capitalize just based off of a very lesser known rule in the rule book. And, the umpires did the right thing. They applied the letter of the law. But in this case, it was just super unfortunate because that was the tying run. And then fast forward to the next inning. In the 7th inning, the Marlins have the tying run on second base. Xavier Edwards has a base hit. Connor Norby, who has very good speed, is flying around third base. It's an aggressive send by the third base coach. And Harrison Bader nails him at the plate. A very close play, and my gut reaction was, there was blocking. It was blocking of the plate by the catcher, but I had a lot of people in my comments saying, no, it was a fair play. He did the right thing. That's textbook by the catcher. And, when I looked it over, I got to admit, the Twins made a very good baseball play. Great throw by Harrison Bader, and the catcher applied the tag. And that was it. The Marlins couldn't score in the 8th and the 9th. The Twins have a very good bullpen with Griffin Jacks and Joan Duran. And so you lose a tough-fought 1-run game, and all of a sudden, you're in danger of losing the series. It's all going to come down to Thursday morning, a matinee game in South Florida. The Marlins jumped out to an early lead. They didn't really allow the Twins to get back into this game. So I'm going to start by just prefacing this with saying the Marlins now winning 4 straight series. That's an accomplishment. You've beat the Braves. You took 2 out of 3. You swept the Giants. You swept the Diamondbacks, and you took 2 out of 3 from the Twins. So credit to the Marlins. 4 straight series. That's incredible. What they're doing right now is they're playing cohesive baseball. Everybody is contributing, and you look up and down the lineup, there's no real black hole. There's no real weak spot in the sense that this guy is just an automatic out every time he's up to the plate. Even the players that we've criticized this season, they're finding ways to contribute. Marlins jump out to a 4-0 lead in the rubber match, and it was because of an Agustin Ramirez big 2-run home run in the bottom of the first that extended the Marlins lead to 3-0 after Otto Lopez had an RBI ground out, or a force out rather, and that was 1-0. Then Agustin Ramirez just unloads on a fastball. Lopez was trying to steal from first. Agustin Ramirez gets a 94-mile-an-hour heater at the top of the zone and just tanks it deep into left center field. His power is just incredible, and it never ceases to amaze me that in any moment in the count, Agustin Ramirez is a threat for an extra base hit with just how hard he hits the ball. He truly is one of the game's young talents at the plate, somebody that you just has it. He has the ability to just rack up these insane exit velocities. And when you have those EVs over 100 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour, you're going to get your hits. You're going to get your slug. And that's what the Marlins have needed for years. They've needed a catcher that can provide offense. Now, will Agustin Ramirez be the Marlins' answer offensively as the catcher? I don't know. You know, I'm of the opinion one day he's going to move to be a full-time designated hitter. But right now, his power is going to win you games. And I'm absolutely here for it. I'm getting a little bit off track here in the order of which I wanted to go with, because I really want to talk about Eury Perez. Eury Perez dominated this game. The Marlins jumped out to a 3-0 lead. They ended up winning 4-1. That was all they needed. All the runs they needed were in the first inning because Eury Perez was dominant. He shut down the Minnesota Twins in a completely effective and thorough effort from him on the mound, and it was led by the fastball. Eury Perez pretty much went up there with one pitch. Yes, he threw the slider as well, but everything started and ended with his four-seam fastball, and it was terrific. It felt at times watching like a high school game. Eury Perez is throwing the four-seamer. The hitters know he's throwing the four-seamer, and they can't touch it. They can't do anything with it because of just how dang effective it is. I'm going to talk about Eury and his outing and just how excited I am to be able to watch Eury pitch, and that he's all the way back and he's only going to continue getting better. That's coming up right after this. And this episode is brought to you by Gametime. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. And that's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you are the type of person that wants to see exactly the view from their seat, you know, you're in a new stadium, you want to see what it looks like, where you can see the singer or the rapper, whatever concert you're going to, Gametime is going to let you view that. The app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there's no surprises. And one of my favorite parts of Gametime is right before I buy the ticket, it's all in pricing, so I know exactly how much I'm going to pay. There's no guesswork. There's no hidden fees. So if you're interested in this, take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. If you're listening to the podcast, rate 5 stars, leave a review. Let's keep this thing rolling all season long. Locked On Marlins, Monday through Friday. Eury Perez dominated the Twins on Thursday in what was his best and most complete start off of Tommy John surgery. He goes 6 innings of shutout baseball, 1 hit, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, lowered his ERA on the year to 4.50. But to me, that's really irrelevant because, the first 3 or 4 starts of the season, he's getting his groove back. He's getting back into Major League Baseball. Pitching is difficult. These are the best hitters on the planet, and he's 22 years old, coming off of a serious career-altering elbow procedure. Eury Perez looked like a Cy Young front-runner on Thursday, and it was all led by the four-seamer. You look at the pitch breakdown. He threw the four-seam fastball in this one 46 times out of his 80 pitches. That's good for a 57% clip. It averaged 97.7 miles an hour with 18 inches of induced vertical break. So it has a ton of life, and you couple that with the velocity, it's a really hard pitch to square up and make contact with, and that was evident in the amount of whiffs that Eury got on the four-seam. Eury racked up 13 whiffs on the four-seam fastball alone. His secondary pitch that he would really throw would be the slider. He got another 6 whiffs on that one, an additional whiff on the curveball. So 20 whiffs from Eury Perez. And what I love so much about this outing is that it was led by the fastball. A lot of pitchers have swing and miss stuff, and they rely on those secondaries to kind of get them through their outings and get their strikeouts. What Eury did against Minnesota was sit there and say, all right, I got a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm going to throw it at the top of the zone. I'm going to throw it on the outside corner, the inside corner. I'm going to locate it well. Beat me. And the Twins couldn't do it. They couldn't get anything going against Eury. What this means for the Marlins is that the rest of the season, regardless of wins and losses, and we're gonna get into the wild card discussion a little bit later because I think it's a valid discussion topic at this point in the season. Eury Perez is going to be an ace one day. He's going to be a Cy Young finalist, if not a Cy Young winner one day. And what it takes is developing consistency and trust in the rest of his pitches. He has the fastball with the God-given arm talent that he has to rear up and throw 99, 100 miles an hour with life. It's not a dead pitch. Hitters aren't just going to tee off on it like they did with Max Meyer's fastball. Max Meyer can ramp it up to 96 miles an hour, decent velocity, but it has no life. Eury has the velocity and the movement. He has the slider, and I think that's the secondary pitch that he uses the most, that he has the most confidence to locate. But that curve is right there. The changeup is there, and those are 2 pitches that pitching coach Daniel Moscas the rest of the season can continue to work with him. What I want to see over the next 2-3 starts is Eury incorporate that curveball a little bit more. Use it at the bottom of the zone because it's a weapon. It's an absolute weapon when you're using it, and especially in a 2-strike count, if you can get a hitter to chase. He throws it very softly. It's not a hard curveball. It's about 75, 76 miles an hour. But you pair that with the slider, which he throws in the upper 80s or mid 80s, you're gonna have that fastball at 100. That's a timing nightmare for opposing hitters. He's so young, and he's so there's so much to learn and room to grow for him as a pitcher that I can sit here and say the sky is the limit. And this is just a glimpse of how good Eury can be. That's why he's an untouchable player on the Marlins roster. If you're an opposing fan base and you have any idea in your head that the Marlins are the same old Marlins, they're going to trade Eury, no. Just Get that out of your head. It's not happening. Peter Bendix has a prize jewel in the rotation in Eury Perez. We talk about Sandy Alcantara, and Sandy is always going to be one of my favorite pitchers. He was the first Marlins Cy Young winner back in 2022. A part of me thinks Eury Perez, his ceiling, the absolute best that he can be, is better than Sandy Alcantara. Just by pure stuff and pitchability alone. The sky is the limit. I can't wait for what's to come this season and in the years to come. What the Marlins have right now, with the emergence of Edward Cabrera, who's been the Marlins' best starter, with Sandy Alcantara, who's the veteran of the group and is still trying to, find his footing in what's been a very inconsistent season for him. You pair those two with Eury. That's a three-headed monster that no team wants to face in a 3-game set. I had a very interesting comment on Twitter from my buddy Presley Walker. Presley's been on the show before. He's a big Marlins fan. And I just want to read it to you guys really quickly. He said, "This might be the winning talking, but I take it back. Don't trade Sandy. Give him Eddie and Eury lifetime extensions and create a big 3 that could dominate you to a playoff run. If Sandy operates as a 3, even a 4, you're working with something lethal." The Marlins pitching factory churned out Edward Cabrera. It got him to a point now where he is the most consistent and the best starter that the Marlins have. Eury Perez, he missed the first, couple of months with Tommy John surgery, still recovering. They were being very patient, and the results throughout the first, 3 or 4 starts against the Pirates, the Nationals, the Braves, you saw some glimpses there, and then the Diamondbacks, he didn't get through 5 innings. This one, he went through 6, and he could have gone 7. He was at 80 pitches when he got pulled. But they're going to be very, very cautious. They wanted to leave it at that, and the Marlins had confidence in their bullpen. I don't know what the Marlins, want to do with Sandy Alcantara this season, because if they find themselves winning, they're going to have a tough discussion here come the trade deadline. If they continue to win, and this is coming up in the next segment, the Marlins could be in wild card contention, legitimately in wild card contention, not just a fringe team that's saying, "Oh, we're 12 games out of the wild card. If this happens and this happens, we can make it." No, the Marlins are one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in all of Major League Baseball. They're sitting right now at 3rd place in the National League. They're tied with the Braves in the standings. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's all about winning, right? Now, does that mean mortgaging your future? No, it doesn't. And that's why I've said before that I think the Sandy Alcantara trade is inevitably going to happen at some point, whether it's the end of this season or at the trade deadline. But right now, the Marlins are 6.5 games out of the wild card. They have Eury Perez, who just made a statement against the Twins. They have Edward Cabrera, who's pitching like an ace. If Sandy Alcantara finds consistency, Presley's right. That is a 3-headed monster. I'm going to talk more about Eury Perez. I'm going to talk about Agustin Ramirez because I want to talk about the potential for an extension for him, but also the wild card and the decision that the Marlins are going to have to make if they continue playing good baseball. That's coming up right after this. And this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. If you're a trade professional, or maybe a family member or friend that you know is a trade professional and they're looking for that extra edge, encourage them to check out the free Trade Master program. It offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. And if you ever need help with that order, Supply House will offer expert support and industry-leading service. You'll always talk to a real representative, no robots involved. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, so now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And also, guys, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. A reminder that Locked On Marlins is not just on the YouTube channel, although if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's on the major podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, you name it, it's out there Monday through Friday. Agustin Ramirez, one of the catalysts to the Marlins' success over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to say it. He should be extended. There should be contract extensions in the works for a player of the caliber of Agustin Ramirez. The Red Sox did it with Christian Campbell. And I hate to say it, but Christian Campbell is not half the player that Agustin Ramirez is. He has been optioned to AAA. There's been no idea, no thought, no light bulb going off in the front office's heads that Agustin Ramirez is going to be optioned anytime soon. He's an absolute stud. He is a force in this lineup and will be for years to come. I think the Marlins should already be in contract extension negotiations with his agent. Offer him 7-8 years, $60-65 million. See if that does it. If not, you go higher. Give him 8 years for 80 at $10 million a year. Why not? That's a clear sign to ownership, or from ownership to the fan base, that you're taking this seriously, that you are identifying a player who can be a long-term fixture in your organization, the face of your franchise for years to come, and more importantly, that you can win behind. Agustin Ramirez is that dude. Eury Perez is also that guy. The Marlins should be trying to extend him. Whether it is this season, you get a notification the Marlins have extended Eury Perez to a X amount of years contract, or in the offseason, Eury is that type of pitcher that you want to extend. You want him to be a Marlin for life. Sandy Alcantara, I wanted to be a Marlin for life. And the jury is still out whether Sandy is going to get traded this season at the trade deadline or in the offseason. Or maybe, just maybe, the Marlins do something completely unexpected. And like Presley said, as I talked about in the last segment, they keep all three of them. Edward Cabrera, or four of them rather. Edward Cabrera, Eury Perez, Sandy Alcantara, and now Agustin Ramirez. The wild card is in reach for the Marlins in 2025. And that's not me saying this as a complete homer, as a complete optimist. It's just the facts. I'm looking at the MLB standings right here, the wild card standings. Right now, the Marlins have 4 teams ahead of them, or 5 teams ahead of them in the standings. The Padres have the 3rd spot. You have the Cardinals at 47 and 41, 6 games over. You have the Giants, who you just swept. They're 5 games over. The Reds are 3 over. The D-backs are 500. And there's the Marlins tied alongside the Atlanta Braves, who unfortunately just lost one of their best pitchers, Spencer Schwellenbach. He's out for at least a month before he begins throwing again. The Marlins are playing some of their best baseball. The D-backs are not. The Giants are not. The Reds are the Reds. The Cardinals are overachieving as well. The Padres have been very inconsistent, and their fan base wants to make a move. They desperately need to make a move because behind Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado, you don't really have a lot of pop or efficiency in that lineup. Now, I'm not saying the Marlins should go out and mortgage their future for a chance to make the wild card. You're not going to go to the trade deadline and offer Thomas White to a contender for another ace pitcher. That's not going to happen. But what I am saying is that the Marlins are at the point right now in the season, as we're about a week away from the All-Star break, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2 weeks. I've lost track on the exact days because I've been locked into this winning streak right now. If the Marlins go against the Brewers this weekend and take care of business, they win at least 2 out of 3, maybe a sweep. Now we're looking at, okay, this isn't just like a fever dream. This could be realistic, which is wild. It's absolutely wild to think about. But we've seen this happen before. We've seen teams that we don't expect go out and shock the world. There was a comment from Eury Perez. Yeah, I had it pulled up earlier, and it was in the post-game article from Christina De Nicola. Look it up on MLB.com. But he was talking to the media, and he was just saying, we think we can go out and win every game and get into the playoffs. We want to be. They want to be in the playoffs. These guys are competitors. They're winners. And the Marlins right now are set up in a very good position to at least make things interesting. So 2 weeks before the All-Star break, you have the Brewers for 3. Huge series. Huge series. If you can take 2 out of 3 from the Brewers and win your 5th consecutive series, now the discussion is going to be a little bit louder. The outside noise is going to be a little bit elevated. You get to the Reds for 4, a team ahead of you in the standings, and then you have the Orioles on the road for 3. These next 10 games are huge, and then you have the All-Star break. I think you're going to know before the All-Star break whether this discussion is going to be looked back and people laugh, or there's some truth to what I'm saying. Because the way Edward Cabrera is pitching, the way Eury Perez is pitching now, the way the offense is showing up in big moments, Otto Lopez, Kyle Stowers, Agustin Ramirez, Xavier Edwards setting the tone as the leadoff hitter. This is a scrappy, young, competitive team that believes. They believe. And when you have belief in yourself and you have talent on your roster, then crazier things have happened. I think that if you are around 3 to 4 games under 500, if you can maintain this pace and get 3 to 4 games under 500, and you're at the wild card, maybe around 5 games back of the wild card by the trade deadline, then the narrative is going to change. Okay, we're going to sell the bullpen, just get rid of those guys. We're going to trade Jesus Sanchez here. We're going to obviously deal Sandy Alcantara. Maybe you keep him for a late push. Maybe you keep a guy like Roddy Enriquez instead of just considering trade offers because his value is so high, given the years of control left, given the pure stuff. And maybe you lock him into the closer's role, and he gets to do the pistol celebration like he did in Arizona and lock down the bottom of the ninth in safe situations. Maybe Sandy Alcantara gets in a groove, and you're sitting here for the next 3 months and saying, okay, we still have him for 2 additional years of control. There's no pressure to trade Sandy other than the fact we're the Marlins, and that's what we've historically done in order to accelerate this rebuild. Maybe you can sneak in there. Sneak into the playoffs. Sandy, Eddie, Eury, Jansen Junk, who, by the way, haven't even mentioned him. Although it wasn't a loss, Jansen Junk went 6 innings of 2-run baseball with 7 strikeouts, didn't walk anyone. He should be a fixture in this rotation. I think he is a lock in this rotation. I'm excited, guys. These next couple of weeks are going to be super fun. Big weekend series against the Milwaukee Brewers that starts on Friday and carries on through Sunday. It's at home at Lone Depot Park. If you're around, go support the Marlins. Let them know you care. Let them know, that they're playing good baseball. Too often, this team is laughed at by opposing fan bases. I want to shock the world. I want to keep winning. Winning's fun. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I hope you guys all enjoyed the episode. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.